Okay, the one guy I did not see on that list, LeBron James. What about him? Where is his money?
He is extension. It's in the bank. He's extension eligible. He is not extension eligible until next month. But obviously, he is watching very closely what the Lakers do. You're not going to hear us talking a whole lot about the Lakers. And they will sign guys, but we're not expecting impactful names. They've got a basically bargain bin shop. And so the real question is, will LeBron look at this Lakers team? He can extend for 2 years and $100 million. I mean, he's at the point where he's going to get $50 million a year if he extends. That is not anything to sneeze at. And so will he extend and commit to this Lakers team? Will he not extend because he's not sure he wants to commit to this Lakers team? Or will he let it go just to find out whether the Lakers can make maneuvering? So Russell Westbrook's contract is going to be expired after next year. If LeBron lets his contract expire, the Lakers could have cap space, and he could do what James Harden is doing, which is lower his salary to help the team. But we'll see.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm LeBron James. I sneezed out $100 million. I'm a billionaire. I'm a billionaire. Wendy, I'm a billionaire. If I'm LeBron James, I'm not signing a 2-year extension. I get that the money's there. But, look, Bronny's coming up in the game. We've heard that talked about multiple times, him wanting to play with his son. And also, if I'm LeBron James, hey, I made a tangible move to try to get Russell Westbrook. It didn't work out year one. Let's see what happens in year two. And I need to see what moves Jenny Buss and Rob Pelinka are doing with this team that can keep us in contention to help me win another world championship. And until I see the right moves being made, I'll go a year-by-year deal.
As Brian knows, earlier in LeBron's career, especially when he went back to Cleveland, as you said, Jay, well, he signed short-term deals, right? 1- and 2-year deals. Why? To put pressure on the Cavs, to keep making moves to make the team better. When he went to LA, what did he do? He signed a 4-year deal that locked him in there for a long time, and he sort of ceded a little bit of the control back to the team, right? So to Jay Will's point, if he doesn't extend, that is one way for him to exert some control on the Lakers to say, all right, I'm watching to see what you're doing. Let's see where we're at.
I'm going to be honest, I will never sneeze at $50 million a year. No. I'm just trying to think hypothetically if I were LeBron James, what he would do.
But what I think is so interesting is this graphic right here. $129 million committed to 3 dudes. You got Malik Monk, who they want to bring back. Do they have enough money to even bring him back? What is it that they can do, Brian, to make this team better?
They can do this.
They can pray.
Looking at that list of key free agents, that's a rough list.
It honestly says all you need to know. If Malik Monk is your primary guy you need to bring back to your team, it's why they were a 33-win team. Yes, they had injuries, but they didn't have enough talent around those guys, and they don't have the flexibility to go out and get talent around those guys. That's why the Kyrie Irving, potential Hail Mary for them, that was their one get-out-of-jail-free card. Right. Now that seemingly is not there, they're really in a bind.
Are they wasting his final seasons?
I mean, are they wasting it? LeBron James put himself in this situation, too. I mean, there's culpability here for both.
He certainly wasn't opposed to trading for Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, so, my thing is, look, even if LeBron James, I think, plays at an MVP-type level, I still think you have a team that finishes middle of the pack in the Western Conference. It's unfortunate, but I don't see any moves that they could realistically make that will all of a sudden make me think that they could be contenders in the top 3 of the West.
They're going to go look for some athletic wing players. I mean, Juan Toscano-Anderson, who was not tendered by the Warriors yesterday, he is going to be an unrestricted free agent. That's the guy they're looking at. Josh Jackson.
Wow, it's like who? I mean, everybody's going to say
the 12th guy in the defending champions. That's who we're talking about.
Unbelievable.
Buckle up, man.
That's it.
Unbelievable that he's in this position, and now it's on LA to do something with nothing.
By the way, he's in a great position. I mean, the guy has won 4 championships, considered one of the greatest players of all time. I know that we get into
and
this
he's
thing.
A billionaire.
I think we get into it, though, because he's not satisfied. He wants a championship.
Tom Brady's not satisfied.
True.
I hear where we go with it, but still, put it into the overall context of his career. He did just win a championship.
He's driving his Ferrari back to.
I was going to say, I'll swap with him. I love being here, but I'll swap with him. It'd be okay.
There you go. What about his Ferrari?
I mean, he's driving his Ferrari or his Lamborghini or his Bentley back to Brentwood to his giant estate. I mean, he's okay. Nice. And they did raise a banner in L.A. So.
Yeah. That's like Jay Will's life.
He's been working 3 days straight.
Yes, and you're playing a game of fact or fiction. Okay, so let's start with this, Jay. The Hawks are now contenders in the East after acquiring DeJounte Murray.
No, not contenders. I still like the Boston Celtics and Milwaukee Bucks, a lot of other teams more so than I like the Atlanta Hawks. But I do like the way the Hawks are going. And I think that Trae Young has played most of his career off the ball. I do like what this backcourt brings to the table.
If you're not a contender with Trae Young and DeJounte Murray, it shows how tough the East is.
Wow. Yeah. I can't believe they're not a contender. But Bradley Beal's now a free agent, deserves a 5-year, $250 million contract.
Yeah, he deserves a supermax. It will be interesting to see when the CBA comes up in 2023, 2024, if Adam Silver and owners push to change for it. Look, if you sign a supermax, that's great, but you have to be here for the remainder of your deal terms. And if you decide not to, then you'll forgo your contract. Can't force your way out.
Okay, here's another one for you. The Sixers will end up as favorites in the East because James Harden declined his $47 million player option.
Philly show today. I wonder why.
Favorites in East?
Fact or fiction?
I would still say I think the Boston Celtics are probably the favorite in the East, but I think they are damn near close. And I think that James Harden will actually be on a mission to prove a lot of people wrong, considering the way he played last year.
Okay, so let's stop down on this because this is the big topic of the day right now.
Shocking you talking about Philly.
Come on, it's not just about me talking about Philly.
Eagles,
Yeah,
Sixers.
I didn't put the Eagles in the show. I didn't put the Eagles in the show.
What else are they going to say?
Hey, look, if the teams are good and they make news, we have to talk about it,
I
right,
just want Miles
folks?
Sanders to score a touchdown first. Last year.
Well, what do you make? Let me ask you this. What do you make of what Harden is doing?
So Wendy brought up a great point about him showing the effort to buy in. And one of the things that I think is easy to say about James Harden is, well, his whole career he's been selfish. And Wendy alluded to how many times he's turned down money. Now, I'm not saying there aren't some questions around after games and things of that sort, conditioning. But damn, you haven't heard anything from James Harden since he kind of went out on bad terms the last time they lost in the playoff game. So him working on his conditioning, him turning down money, right? He's still going to make a lot of money, but to show, let's get guys like PJ Tucker. I really think this is going to be a breakout season, and we will be talking about James Harden differently when it's all said and done with the Philadelphia 76ers.
To your point, Jay Will, at the end of Game 6, when they lost to Miami, James Harden went out of his way to say, I'm going to do what it takes to make this team into a winning team. And that was talking about his contract status. Like he has backed that up. He has come back, and by opting out of this deal, taking a little less money now, it's allowed this team to be better than it would have been otherwise.
That was not the narrative around James Harden before this year. So is James Harden a changed man in some way?
I think it all just still depends on what he's going to do on the court when we get to November. That's the way he's going to be judged. But I will say two things. One, before he got injured with that hamstring, when he first came to Brooklyn, he put up great numbers. And then last year, even though he wasn't clearly himself, he still put up good numbers. There is still an excellent player there. If you don't expect him to be an MVP, it changes your viewpoint of him. So he is going to maybe reset where he's going to be. He's still going to be very productive. And hopefully the help that he'll have on this roster next season will make his dominance less important to the Sixers to be successful.
I'm not a subscriber to this whole thing like you can't go out and hang out after games and things of that sort. Like, I think it's kind of salacious.
Well, hanging out is one thing.
Agreed,
hanging out a lot is
another.
another.
I think there's a level of awareness, right? So there was a video of him that surfaced online about him going out. And typically when you see him out, James is posing. He's saying, what's up, right? He was like, yo, nah. Like, put down the there's to me, like, that level of awareness is like, oh, okay, like, there's something for me to prove. Then let me keep perpetuating this narrative.
I think that's interesting. Do you think he's worried about his legacy?
I think everybody's worried about their legacy when it's all said and done.
No, but I mean, for him, more so than in the
giving
past.
me this really
His number
interesting
was
smoke.
retired at strip clubs in Houston. I think the man had some good times.
I mean, I know
Can
a
we
lot of
just say
NBA.
that again?
I know a lot of NBA players that would have their numbers retired at strip clubs.
Hey, listen,
Wendy,
I'm not comparing.
Who are elite
not
level
comparing.
players. So, like, for me, it's how are you winning a championship? Like, that's the missing link for him. You win a championship, and I feel like he is best suited to do that in Philadelphia with Joel Embiid.
And with PJ Tucker, and with Anthony Melton, and with Tyrese Maxey. Like, this is a situation that is set up for James Harden to succeed, right? This team is going to be better. He's not the best player. He's playing with Joel Embiid, who might be the best player on the planet. He just has to do his part. And he's doing his part today. He has to do his part next season.
Ultimately, what you do on the court matters. Actions matter. Actions matter than IG. Actions matter in a lot of ways more than your contract. His actions on the court will define what his situation is.
So you said you said they're not the favorites to you in the East. Where do they stack up in the East?
Tim has talked about this over the last couple of days. There is no perfect team in the East. All of these teams are flawed. So it's going to come down to health. It's going to come down to chemistry. It's going to come down to, who's able to potentially make moves during the season and improve them. But as you look at that, I mean, I can't even tell you what the best bet is. I could even argue with you that the best bet today would probably be the 76ers at 6-1 there. Any of those teams, and especially in the top 4, the Heat I'm not so sure about, but any of those teams in the top 4, you could make a compelling case, assuming the Nets don't explode, which there's a different set of odds for that. Is any of those 4 teams, from a talent standpoint, you could argue, you could throw the dice and say any of those could win.
I think Bobby Portis opting out is a low-key interesting story for the Bucks, just considering their depth, right? And the role that he played in them winning a championship when they did have P.J. Tucker on that team.
He'll be back, I bet.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, we'll see. This East is still good tight. I still can't believe Vegas has got the Nets second best odds, but that's how Vegas rolls with the Nets. All right, so let's run the floor. Got so many big names that are on the verge of getting paid. Wendy, start us off.
Okay, so we potentially have one of the biggest contracts for a young player in the game with Devin Booker. He became eligible for a Supermax when he made first team All-NBA. He's going to get that Supermax in the next few days, excess of $200 million. Going to be locked into the Suns for the foreseeable future.
Another guy who's going to get locked into a Supermax in the next few days or a few hours maybe is Karl Anthony Towns. Going to get the same contract, 4-year Supermax extension for over $200 million with the Minnesota Timberwolves. He and my man Ant-Man, Anthony Edwards, the most exciting young player in the league, maybe with Ja Morant,